I am an atheist, as mentioned before. I'm not agnostic about my atheism, so I am not the one who says that we do not or cannot know whether God exists or not. I would say that I am Gnostic, sure, in my atheism. So I certainly reject the belief in God, and I'm convinced that God does not.
Assalamu alaikum. Full Metal here. Ridwan claims to be a Gnostic atheist, which means that he knows there is no God. The problem with such an assertion is that in classical theism and pretty much of the religions on the planet, the conception of God has the common denominator.
Okay, I really have to ask you guys to, if you're tagging Atheist Republic, it needs to be something, you guys, I'm trying to pay attention without pausing too much. So if you're tagging Atheist Republic, please make sure it's something about the thing that we're highlighting, because if I see Atheist Republic being tagged, it's going to distract me to pay attention to you guys. And then it's not, if it's not something about what we're reviewing, then it's like, I just lost my chain of thought. Okay. So please, if you're tagging Atheist Republic, try to make it something about the stream that we're talking about. Thank you.
In classical theism and pretty much of the religions on the planet, the conception of God has the common denominator of being seen as transcending empirical reality. So what Ridwan has here really is
transcending empirical reality. So that means that there's no way for us to know that it's real, okay? If it transcends empirical reality, that means there's no way to observe it, right?
An epistemological problem. Epistemology is that branch of philosophy which deals on how do we know things. And the problem Ridwan is facing with this kind of assertion is, I know that a reality which I cannot empirically verify does not exist.
That's not true. Who is this guy? This guy thinks like he's very, like being very philosophical and all. Well, based on that definition of the God that you give, then yeah, that's a deistic God. That's not an Islamic God. You could make it different. We could be an agnostic God towards a deistic God, but the God of Islam, which may be or the God of Christianity, which may be the God that Apostle Prophet is referring to, does interact or is claimed to interact with the real world. So it does have interactions, and if you claim it has some interactions, like it answers prayers, it does miracles, and crap like that. It basically distance everything. It is basically the most involved thing in the empirical world. So in that sense, if that's your God, which is definitely the Abrahamic God, almost every God that we know in history and in every culture and civilization until recently, where people got desperate enough to come up with gods that is completely independent from the real world, it's a God that should be empirically verifiable given that the amount of interaction that it has with the known world. So maybe what's the definition that he gave?
Ridwan has here really is an epistemological problem. Epistemology is that branch of philosophy which deals on
no, not that. Not the definition of epistemology. Where's the definition of... Do you have a God definition? Okay, I don't know what that is anymore.
Of being seen as transcending empirical reality. So what Ridwan has here really is an epistemological problem. Epistemology is that branch of philosophy which deals on how do we know things. The problem Ridwan is facing with this kind of assertion is, I know that a reality which I cannot empirically verify does not exist. Now, Ridwan...
If you make claims about your God, if your God is defined in ways that is self-contradictory, or defies what we can observe about the universe, like your God is beyond, your gods have been defined in way beyond, have a lot more attributes than just something that is beyond, transcends what we could observe, right? There's your God tortures people while claims to be all loving and all forgiving. There are many, like your God is an all-knowing, has a book a direct word of God that makes claims about the universe that is proven to be false. So it cannot be all-knowing and make those claims. So these are gods that come with a lot more definitions that can be observed. So it doesn't. So you could think that the God itself, like its existence, even if you claim it transcends our observations, you are making a lot more claims about the nature of this God that is very easily debunked. So if your God comes with all those definitions, then you could totally be Gnostic atheist towards the God with those definitions, right? Because it's just self-contradictory, or it's observed that those claims are false, right? So you don't, yeah. So unless this Muslim guy is a deist, then his God is completely, being a Gnostic atheist towards his God is completely justified. The only people that could claim, and that it's more logical for us to be agnostic atheists towards their God, are deists, right? And their God is as useless as a God that doesn't exist, because they believe in a God that is indistinguishable from a God that doesn't exist. So you might as well go through your life acting like that God doesn't exist. What is it saying? Ian is saying, Armin, but the creator can't be all-powerful example. Be all-powerful example. Is that like a sentence finished there? Okay. Do you mean a creator can't be all-powerful? For example, we created AI. Okay, guys, if you want me to be able to read what you're saying, maybe like let me know when that one sentence ends and another sentence begins. For example, we created AI, but AI can kill us, so we are God of AI, but we aren't all-powerful. I'm not very sure what you're getting at here. But the creator can't be open. Yeah, but just because you could come up with an example, that doesn't mean that your example is means that it's going to be the situation for every single. Yeah, I don't think that necessarily your conclusion necessarily follows.
Here cannot cop out by saying that I lack belief in God, which is usually the mainstream position of atheists.
Yeah, depends on the definition. Because when we say we lack belief in God, because we're trying to cover every single definition of God. Well, not every single, the most common, the most understood. We're trying to be more inclusive, okay? Even though most gods that people believe in are gods that you could comfortably be Gnostic atheist towards, we're trying to be a little bit more inclusive and include the deistic gods, and that's why the definition of God that we are including is any conscious creator of the universe, whether it's involved in the material world or it isn't. Okay, but we have to understand that people that think that God is not involved in the material world are such a fringe group of people that we could have ignored them anyways and just gone with the full with the understanding, with the most common understanding of God, which we could comfortably be Gnostic atheists towards. Okay, we're just trying to be a little bit more inclusive. Okay, and we're still being exclusive in the definitions of God, which is just the most moronic ones. It's the most useless definitions of God, which is God is love, God is math, God is energy. We're not including all those people, because if we want to include that definition of God, then all of us become theists, because I don't know, energy exists, math exists, love exists. So yeah, it would be idiotic if we include those definitions.
They would tell you, I'm not convinced with the reasons that you are presenting me to believe in God, therefore I don't believe in God. But this position is one of agnosticism at the same time, because they don't really know. And they...
agnosticism is not a position. It's mostly the level, so that's your atheism or your theism is your position. The Gnostic, whether you're Gnostic or agnostic, a more simple way of explaining that is your level of certainty, but that's not very accurate. But agnosticism itself is not a position. So you could be a Gnostic atheist or an agnostic atheist, depending on the God that is being defined, or you could be an agnostic theist or a Gnostic theist. By the way, in the live chat, how many of you are agnostic atheists, and how many of you are Gnostic atheists towards an Abrahamic God? Oh my God. Okay. Christopher is saying the double slit experiment proves God doesn't exist, because if all-knowing entity existed, particles would always be observed. I don't know if I'm okay. Sure. I mean, not really. I mean, if you believe in a God that could just break the laws of nature, then that's not going to be true, right? Here comes the SHITTY agnostics again. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Agnostics, most atheists are agnostic atheists. Okay, yeah, DTR, if you include deist gods, by the way. DTR is an agnostic atheist. Hossein is saying this is a common thing for Christians and Muslim apologetics, basically separate I think this is THEIR, their God from the religion. And since we don't deny that, usually we become agnostic. Yes, you're right. Because they know a deistic God is much easier to defend than their own crappy, ridiculous God. So they keep like if you look at their philosophy and everything, I mean, a deistic God is a useless God to defend, but is their Abrahamic God is so indefensible that they try to defend that God instead. And they show that we are they try to portray us as just being agnostics rather than, yeah. Yes, so Christopher is saying, yes, you're a Gnostic atheist towards an Abrahamic God. Same here. I'm a Gnostic atheist towards Abrahamic gods and most other gods from history. Katie's saying, totally Gnostic towards all religious gods, and I might have an argument that Gnosticism towards the deistic God might make sense too. Would be interested in hearing that, Katie. You're saying I am agnostic towards sky deities, but I think the first one you meant to be saying Gnostic. I am Gnostic towards sky deities, but agnostic towards this nature worship. Guys, nature. If you're talking about pantheism, that's just a redefinition of God so that they could include nature. That God technically exists, but that God is not the God that people talk about. I could name this plant God, and all of a sudden I'm a theist because this plant does exist. Yeah, okay, Christopher. Yeah, but that's not the. Yeah, those are different arguments. Yeah, Hossein is actually a deist. Hossein, how could you be a deist? You're the grandson of the prophet. All right, let's continue.
Admit that quite usually. The thing is that Ridvan here is saying that he knows there is no God. So to rephrase his statement, he's saying, I know that a reality which I can have possibly no knowledge about does not exist.
Yeah, you're just putting words in his mouth. This guy thinks he's so clever. He's just putting words in his mouth and then refuting that he's just doing a straw man. No, he did not say that. You defined the God that he was refuting for him, and now you are coming up with an argument that he did not make. Really, and you think you're clever because of it.
It's kind of a contradiction. I know that something I cannot possibly verify does not exist. And this is why he fails right at the beginning.
You just failed. We're 2 minutes in your 20-minute video, and you committed a straw man. You failed right in the beginning. And also subscribe to our newsletter, because if we get removed from all these platforms, at least we could reach out to you. And guys, by the way, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you get a free copy of Where's your copy, Susanna? Get it. We're doing promotion. You get a free. It's not even promotion. It's free. Okay, so if you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description, you get a free copy of Why There's No God. Come on, I'm handing it out for free. Okay, it's a bestseller on Amazon, and you get it for free. So subscribe to our newsletter, and you get a free copy of Why There's No God sent to you. Link in the description.